how do you make culture part of your business and integrate it in, whether you have one location or 15,000?
I would say simply, and then I'll give some examples so that you have some tangible examples of things that Starbucks did. But what I found, and it's somewhat like those of us that go into the business world and things are very financially driven and motivated, and everybody knows a P&L or a balance sheet or profitability. I mean, everybody's taught that if you're a business leader. What people don't teach is the inputs to that profitability, and one of those things is culture. And so for us at Starbucks, it's end to end, from how you recruit your talent, and you talk about your values, and you talk about the mission of the company to inspire and nurture the human spirit at the time. Are you someone that's important to? Is that something that you get joy from every day? I mean, it has to be part of recruiting, has to be part of training, has to be part of what leadership talks about, how leadership makes room for. And I'll give you some examples of some tools that we used at Starbucks that you could take and say, I can find a similar tool in the company that I'm working for or advising. It has to be part of what the success metrics of every business is, which is, in this store, we used to walk in and say, tell me what the culture of this store is. We actually had every store over the past 5 years or so come together with a store team, and the team would come up with, what is the purpose of this store? What do we want our customers to feel when they leave this store? What is it that is, what is the output of our collective personality of how we want to bring culture and nurturing to this community? And every store we would start with, so tell me what your purpose is, and tell me how I will see that evident in your store. What would your customers say? What would your suppliers say? What would the delivery driver say? What would the customer say? And we just made it a priority that everybody understood that before we talked about the food case or the beverage quality or the cleanliness standards, like all of us in retail would do, we started with what we prioritize, which is, tell me about the culture and the health of the culture in your store, and tell me what I'm going to see that's evidence of the culture being alive and well. So I would say, in 15,000 stores, every district manager or regional director started with, I can't speak on today, but we started with the purpose of the store, the culture of the store, and why this store is something unique because of the people that work in the store, and making that a priority. And then, of course, you tie that into the financial performance. Now, some of those tools that we use, and these will be applicable to all of you today on the call, whether it's in a store, whether it's in an office building, whether it's with a vendor and a supplier, wherever it might be. A couple things that we did is you have to make a commitment to yourself that you're going to make culture visible. Like, you have to talk about it. We're going to create space. So some of the things that we did in the meetings, there was always a portion of the meetings that we would pause and say, okay, are we aligned on what we're doing? Are we aligned on how we're doing it? And are we aligned on why are we doing it? And everybody in the meeting would contribute to that conversation as just a little pause to say, are we culturally talking about the things that are most important? As you probably all know, culture is passed down by generations, and has been passed down by generations by storytelling. What's a story that a customer brings into the room? Tell me about the last customer you talked to. Tell me about the person that just quit. Why did they quit? What was wrong with our company and our culture? What can we learn from their experience? So this notion of making space for storytelling and sharing stories and sharing what people's perspectives on the business is really critically important. And again, wherever you might be, wherever you meet, wherever you join, and we already do that storytelling at the water cooler. We all know what that kind of storytelling is, right? So it's about, how do you create space to have a very productive storytelling environment? I think there's rituals. One of the things at Starbucks that we did, and it was really easy because we were a coffee company, but every meeting we started with a coffee tasting. We talked about the coffee. We talked about the farmers. We talked about why we did the work with the farmers. We talked about the impact to our customers in the neighborhoods. Whatever is applicable to you and what you do in your company, there's a software product, a technology solve, a financial tool that you can bring to the table to say, here's how this tool is helping customers. This is what our customer is telling us about it. Here are the things that we still want to improve, but bringing the rituals and storytelling into the room and making it visible so everybody knows it's important is a really critical tool if you want to make sure that culture is actually driving performance. And then I would say recognition, how you create space for people to talk about what they're proud of, what they've accomplished, what they need from other people in the room. Again, the culture of what we're doing, how we're doing, and why we're doing it. Those three things are key to bring into almost every conversation. And believe me, like all of you or many of you, how am I going to find the time? You'll find the time if you make it important. It's 5-minute conversation. It doesn't need to be an hour. It doesn't need to be an offsite. It doesn't need to be all these leadership retreats, which sometimes I think are counterculture. It's the 5-minute conversation. It doesn't really take that much time. And I promise you, I guarantee you the outcome and the result you'll see from it will be really, really worth your while.